The following video contains spoilers. We suggest watching the episodes alone in the dark. Howdy, Cat Pack! It's me, your lovable puppy Catastrophe, and I have done it! I have found another one of the worst Goosebumps tales ever made. It's so horrible that it left me quite insane. I'm talking about the title which even the most hardcore of R.L. Stine fans despise with a bloody passion. The book-turned-episode which sucks so badly that it's a total joke amongst our kind. The one Goosebumps tale which nobody defends or even loves unironically. Some view it as so bad it's good, while others see it as the failure it truly is. I'm of course talking about the piece of crap lurking under your kitchen cabinet. It came from beneath the sink. Oh yes, how can we ever forget one of good old RL's biggest disgraces? I have never met anyone who ever said they loved this episode, and I mean love as in took it in entirely seriously as a dreadful Goosebumps nightmare. I've also never met anyone with 6 fingers, but all I know is sponges don't have fingers. Getting back on the choo-choo, this was a Goosebumps tale which nobody looks back on fondly because of how stupid it is, how unscary it feels, how lame the monster from below the pipes is, and how it doesn't even make for decent toilet paper. You'd think this bile would be as absorbent as the bad guy is, but nope, it lives to torture us all. But I say too much. Not only is this episode looked down upon by even the children who love this saga, but it was both a crappy episode and a crappy book. Stine's novel was just as bad as You Can't Scare Me, so the show once again has the good luck of reworking a foul book into an equally foul episode. Win-win. The only good thing is that this was one of the rare stories where Stine actually tried to add extra depth to his wonderfully dark world of Goosebumps, as the monster actually gets its own lore and an almost Stephen King level of an adventure, which only makes this sadder, but that comes later. This episode was also reportedly one of the earliest adaptations the show filmed. So, either the show was eager to do this as an easier tale to bring onto the big screen, or they confirm my theory that they merely wanted to get this dump over with ASAP. Either way, we all lose. Speaking of losers, this episode was adapted by Uncle Howie's creator, Rick Drew. One of the best Haunting Hour and Goosebumps writers was the genius who worked on the most hated episode of the series. How could you, Drew? You were the Rickest Rick of all, since your damage was everlasting. Forget the Goosebumps fans. This is personal. Now, I'm slightly sane enough to rebuild my faith in him, as he does have other hits, but seeing his name attached to this fail bomb cuts deep. Like eating Papa John's. So let's get back at this by slashing his worst design. What else can I say? This episode sucks. You hate it, the fanbase hates it, the voices in my head hate it, the showrunners never bring it up, Stine rarely talks about it, the villain makes top 10 worst monster lists, children hate it, and it's so vile that it killed my baby! Bottle Pop, now you've gone too far. Show no mercy, Cat Pack. We're crawling into this cupboard to exterminate this show's worst pest. This is our therapeutic review spree on Goosebumps' bad Spongebob story. It came from beneath the sink. So, our torture begins with us meeting a loving family moving into a brand new house, which is, of course, hiding some spooky shenanigans inside. Wow, we have never, ever seen this exact setup in any R.L. Stine story ever.
Ha! Never heard that one before.
We're introduced to the Burton family. Sadly, there's no Tim in the mix, but instead, we have the useless idiot parents, the useless idiot brother, and our idiot main protagonist, the newbie on the block, Cat. Pfft, what a dumb name. But screw her, cause we also meet the best character of the Goosebumps universe, Carlo!
Carlo!
Hey, come help us unpack?
No, but I will.
Holy cow, he's here! He's really here! Carlo, the greatest kid hero of all Goosebumps, finally makes his big screen debut, and he is the saving grace of this terrible terror. Carlo is the wisecracking sassy street kid with a penchant for monster hunting and a kick-butt attitude. Carlo has a thorough knowledge of cryptids and monster mythology. Carlo is the coolest kid in class. Carlo grew up to be one of the best monster hunters of both Goosebumps and the Crypt TV universe. Carlo is the only child to confront demonic magic as well as monster onslaughts. His courage and wicked skills hold no bounds, and only grew with each passing day. Carlo goes surfing on hot lava, snipes cold ones open with his mind, and eats churros. Carlo survived a deadly battle with the Crimson King and Lord Darkseid. Carlo makes Thanos and Slappy his bitches. Carlo would have saved the Goosebumps movie in under 1 second. Carlo is both the smartest character in this whole episode and the most badass mofo in the hood. Carlo is easily the best actor among this cast of wooden blocks, because he perfectly captures the raw emotional depth of his book counterpart's awesomeness. Carlo is so bossa nova that he's right up there with Chuck from The Walls as the most epic best friend to have in a horror story. Carlo's awesomeness cannot be contained. Really? Yes, definitely, absolutely. Carlo is the Mandalorian of the Goosebumps universe. Unfortunately, this episode still sucks, so this dude is sidelined as the wacky black best friend.
I am the token black guy. I'm just supposed to smile, stay out of the conversation, and say things like, damn, shit, and that is whack.
Never fear, while Carlo's awesomeness must be toned down for the sake of the fans wanting more, we still have our actual main hero, Cat, entertaining us. She's annoying.
I ain't got no fun with you. I can't help but win this game.
Now, Cat Burton is a supremely unimpressive leading lady. Her actress is another child star, only talented at screaming in fear, and nothing more. She is boring and not very lovable enough to root for on her wild nightmare. And after our last episode featured Carly Beth, the best Goosebumps hero ever, well, second only to Carlo, this chick's forgettable role only makes this episode even weaker. So what I'm trying to say is that she's vastly superior over Slappy. This episode's crazy enough to give us her own inner monologue so we can hear all her thoughts, as if she was a kid detective. But it sucks since this voice narration pops up very infrequently until getting forgot about in the second half of the plot. Almost as if the show staff just forgot.
Take my advice. When your dog whines and paws at something, and you go to see what it is, be careful. Be very careful.
I'd say this was weird, but I hear voices in my head too. Oh, and the fam's
Stupid dog!
named Killer was the only person changed. The dog was a Cocker Spaniel in the book, but on the show, he's now a German Shepherd. 'Cause that's why you all watch these videos, to hear about the altered dog breeds. And here's another bomb for you. Some versions of Netflix actually changed the title of this episode to "It Came From Beneath the Kitchen Sink." Back in the plot, Kat spots something which she thinks is a kitty trapped under the sink cabinet. Yeah, as we all know, cute little kitties have glow-in-the-dark demon eyes. Like mine. After frolicking through the largest kitchen cupboard ever, she discovers that the kitty is really a monster! And we get to the big reveal you've all been expecting. What is this demented demon hidden within this lovely home? What's the monster which Stine's artists masterfully build up to on the epic book covers? What is our dark, disturbing beast below? A sponge! A sponge!
Oh, that's real nice.
And we reach the biggest reason why this episode sucks. All of this story's issues can be best summed up in this one sentence. Sponges aren't scary.
It's a sponge. Sponges aren't scary. You can't make sponges scary. I'm sorry.
Mr. Stine has mastered a great skill at turning our ordinary everyday objects into grueling monstrosities. But alas, sponges are not one of them. What can I even say that you haven't heard or thought of before? Our monster is a stupid old moldy sponge with glow-in-the-dark eyes and growls. Which is not scary, not intimidating, not cool, not brought to life with that spooktacular Goosebumps magic, not well designed, and not even so bad it would make you laugh. This episode plays this monster so dead seriously that it's not even easy to laugh at. It's just cringe. It's so cringy how this episode shows this sponge in a super serial light and plays this out like another Goosebumps nightmare we're supposed to be scared of. But it simply sucks.
It's a sponge. Sponges aren't scary.
Ooh, the sponge has red eyes when it's angry. Oh no, the sponge entered the room. Ooh, the sponge jump scares idiots. And yes, the sponge even makes scary faces.
You piece of shit!
No, you're not good enough for my scary face gag. Screw you. Bad sponge. Bad, bad, bad. The demon sponge is by far the worst villain of the series because it's not scary, not smart, not even creative, and the episode tries so hard to make you dread this thing that it's not even funny because it's painful. And you know what's worse?
It's not a comedy.
Oh.
This entire episode is all played 100% seriously, which only makes it cringier. I mean, a sponge? A monster in the form of something your family uses to wipe the gunk off their dishes? A creature which shares comparisons to a cute childhood icon who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Seriously?
In one day I've gone from good noodle to bad egg.
Now, like I said prior to a few minutes ago, some folks consider this episode so bad it's good because of this precise reason. But I'm here to tell you why you are wrong and I am right. I consider this episode in a similar vein as Near Mint Condition. This episode has the layout of a dark comedy, but the writing is not clever enough to make great use out of it, and instead takes the lackluster path of playing a stupid idea as a serious drama, like most of their show's resume, where the joke is we're meant to laugh at how silly this all is, and how the kid heroes act like it's super scary when it's not. However, my issue is that it's very difficult to tell when this is meant to be a joke scenario or still played dead seriously, since there's not enough comedy or strong detail to make either side clear. Exactly like Near Mint Condition, the jokes fall face flat because they act so intensely dramatic over something stupid, which isn't funny because they should be acting over the top, and the light-hearted moments are so schmaltzy or pitiful that you end up wincing when they pop up. To this day, there are actually some folks who believe this episode was intended to be a comedy, but the episode we see is portrayed just as seriously as the mature Goosebumps episodes are. So the humor feels unintentional. I legit can't tell if fans who love this even know if it was meant to be a comedy, or if they still like this because of how stupid it all is. Either way, I think it fails at both. It's not funny because the episode treats it like true horror. It's not a good Goosebumps terror because the sponge being a villain pisses on all dread. And I don't even find it so bad it's good, since it's not as hilariously inept like Ghost Beach. This episode just plain sucks.
You piece of shit!
Basically, the stupid sponge just wants to absorb Cat's soul, like it did with mine, but unlike me, Girl Cat tries to avoid caving in. And this is a large majority of the episode. Every time Cat tries tossing out the old sponge, Spongebob follows her everywhere and gives her bad luck as a way to harm her and her fam. Like Squidward. She gets into accidents, her fam's belongings get broken, her fam's bodies get broken, and the Burtons can't go a single day without weird things happening to them and ruining their day. Cat's life gets worse than a modern Spongebob episode. Now, in the book, the bad luck curse was way more savage and grimmer than in the episode. People fall off of ladders, cut their limbs on scrap, get some bloody messes, and nearly die. Because the show is aimed at kitten gardeners, they don't go as extreme, and many of the bad luck accidents are more cartoony. It's admittedly hard to feel uneasy when the show censors a lot of the brutal content out. The scariest thing that happens all episode is the idiot brother cuts his foot on glass. It's definitely nasty, but Spongebob is still not scary. It's hard to be afraid after watching the sponge sneak around the house as if it'll get busted.
Yes?
How are we meant to be afraid when our big bad bastard is a sponge, and none of the accidents are even fatal? Who looked at this evil sponge and thought, oh yeah, the kids will definitely piss themselves seeing this? That's a good question! And the answer is...
Stupid?
They honestly try to make Spongebob even creepier when later that night, the dog is last seen barking at Spongy, only to mysteriously vanish the next day. What, did the sponge eat him? We're expected to buy that this big pupper lost to a sponge? I don't care, 'cause now we can get a good dog, like Courage, who's always on the case. Oh, I'll save you, Muriel. And you know what's dumber than a dog losing to a sponge? A cat losing to a sponge. Cat almost dies in a biking accident, only to survive and discover that the sponge cut her brakes. For realsies, the sponge cut her brakes. Curse you, Spongebob!
Evil sponge!
So finally, Cat suspects that something weird is going on here.
The last horse finally crosses the finish line.
In the novel, Stine surprisingly kept things a bit more ominous throughout the arc. SpongeBob plays this cat and mouse game with our hero girl, where it's up in the air over whether or not the sponge is truly alive, or if it's all in Cat's mind. SpongeBob gets some sick kicks out of toying with the girl, and many of the bad luck accidents could be easily written off as just random events. There was actual build-up behind old Spongy. Not here, though. It's instantly revealed that the demon sponge is alive, so Cat just looks like a total moron for ignoring it until this point. Suspense and character development? What's that? I'm so glad she was our hero over Carlo. The episode does trim out a lot of the fluff and pointless padding in the book, but if you ask me, it should have butchered it all away.
I need to lose 20 more pounds, or I'll never be pretty!
Looking good, Doc. The show wants to play up the dark suspense of the book, but it fails because the director failed to recognize that the sponge did conceal its grander evils until our heroes uncover its schemes. And as a result, we're given a lot of cringy scenes of the sponge acting stupid while our heroes look like barnacle heads for not just putting the sponge in a jar. Then again, maybe the sponge will blast them with the Wumbo setting. We cut to the Tweedles, watching Camp Nightmare? Oh, how I wish we were watching that epic instead. But Cat enters to warn them that SpongeBob is the devil and causing her bad luck.
This is a load of barnacles.
Then, for no reason at all, the sponge stupidly reveals itself and attacks them. What? Well, here's a middle finger to all the book fans who hoped SpongeBob would be smart like in the book, and here's the middle finger to all horror fans.
Get away from me! See, what did I tell you, huh?
This is better than the X-Files.
What the huh?
This is better than the X-Files.
Do my ears deceive me?
No, you will die! Dang you, you maniacs! Dang you all to heck! This thing is not better than the X-Files. In literally any other Goosebumps episode, this line would have flown, but not here. Goosebumps has made some of the best horror content for children everywhere, and out of all their incredible adventures where Stine's staff could flaunt how their work is on the same level as the frickin' X-Files, they chose the episode featuring a killer sponge. An evil sponge is in the same league as X-Files.
You piece of shit!
That one line is honestly the only quote folks remember from this episode because of how pitiful it actually is. Goosebumps thought the killer sponge was X-Files worthy. Heck, if that impresses you, I wonder what else is better than the X-Files.
This is better than the X-Files. This is better than the X-Files. This is better than the X-Files. This is better than the X-Files.
You broke my heart, Carlo. You broke my heart. Thankfully, he does win me back when he argues how they should study the sponge, but ultimately makes the mature moral choice that they should bury it to cause no further evil.
It needs to be studied. No, it needs to be dead. I'm asking you in the name of science not to do this. You're right. Forget science.
You are a noble boy, dear Carlo.
That is whack.
So they dump Spongebob in the hole from the haunting hour. Leave no cameras.
Say goodnight, Spongy.
That's what I'll say at Spongy's funeral. That I caused. So Cat assumes that it's finally over, where we legit get an angst scene of the girl worrying if the sponge will be back. Once more, I cannot take this seriously at all because it's a damn sponge. Plus, the actress plays it so dead seriously that you don't want to laugh, but the episode gives off mixed messages with its stupidity. How can anyone take this seriously when she overcame a sponge?
Everything's gonna be alright from now on.
What is that?
Of course, Spongebob rises from the grave to dump the Patrick Show in its place, but then gets back at the fam by doing the most evil, sick, repulsive thing it could think of. It ruins their garden! They retrieve Spongy, finally taking Carlo's wise sage advice, have the creature studied so they can tame it. Oh, frabjous day! The kids acknowledge the brilliant mind of Carlo! Why can't these horror protagonists ever heed the advice of black folks in scary movies?
Reporting live for Black TV. White folks are dead. We're getting the fuck out of here. Let's roll, damn it! Let's go, motherfucker! Go!
Kat takes the sponge to science class to have her teacher, Mrs. Vanderhoff, analyze the demon. By the way, this is Mr. Vanderhoff's only scene in the whole story, and she pretty much accomplishes nothing, as she, like all the other adults, only sees the monster as a mere sponge. I thought the episode was going somewhere with this concept, that the sponge can only be seen alive through the eyes of children, and not by grown-ups. But nope, much like Seth Rogen, it's completely wasted. To the teacher's credit, she does hold the sponge overnight for further tests, but the show still tries to terrify us with its sponge magic. That beaker was 2 days from retirement.
Things kept getting weirder. And I mean weird.
You mean it wasn't weird already? Carlo, the Goosebumps gunslinger, uncovers the solution to their problems, all thanks to his handy-dandy Monsters Almanac passed on to him from Chuck. I told ya Carlo was destined for greatness. Who else has monster mythology books on hand in first grade? He determines that the killer sponge is an ancient being known as the Growl.
Theoretically, a Growl is a mythical creature believed to be a living bad luck charm.
You mean it causes bad luck?
Exactly. And then it feeds on the bad luck it causes. Each time something bad happens, it gets stronger.
It's kind of funny how out of all the magnificent monsters of the Goosebumps universe, the killer sponge is the one who gets this deep backstory and an explanation behind its supernatural presence. Yeah, kids, we won't give you a cool origin for Slappy, or the Pumpkinheads, or the Masked Mutant, yet the Sponge is the one we need a mythical explanation for. This episode sure knows what you fans want. I do find it fun when Stine hints that there's tons of monsters out there in his horror world, but the Sponge is not where he should have hedged his bets. Carlo exposits that there's no word on how to kill this monster, tragically, but he does grant us not so subtle foreshadowing.
Just be glad you didn't find a Lynx.
A what?
A Lynx. It's this little vampire potato that sucks the life force right out of you.
Golly gee, I wonder if this killer potato will have any part in this tale before it's all over. You know, Stine, you've done such a marvelous job making sponges and potatoes out as monsters. But you know what's scarier than those? A glass of water! The kids find no Pokemon which can defeat this legendary type, but they do learn that the Growl must never ever separate from its host, because if it does so for at least one day, then the creature will swipe their soul.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs!
Our genius cat then very slowly remembers that, oh no, she left the Growl at class, and if she doesn't pick her Pokemon up by morning, then she will die.
No! Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids.
Wait, so if the Growl has the power to kill its chosen host when away from them for too long, then how come it didn't end her life when it was buried outside in the backyard last night?
Great continuity!
So, this episode is so desperate to make us scared of a sponge that there's now a final countdown ticking away Cat's life force. So, rather than calling their teacher or legally going back to school during the daytime, the kids break in at night to steal Spongebob back. You know, they say that the easiest part of the heist is trying to break in, but the hard part is trying to break in. I also have to inform y'all that this setting is also different from the novella. In the book, the kids confront the Growl at the Merton house, but in the show, the boss arena is Cat's school. Since, as we all know, there's nothing scarier than going to school. We then see the biggest granddaddy of all twists. The school actually has a night janitor.
No way!
Yeah, I'm honestly quite surprised, since R.L. Stine's spooky stories only have abandoned schools understaffed. This episode sucks so much that a night worker at a school shocks me. That's how you know it's great. The kids fart around in the dark for a while, where we see the Growl has escaped and instantly unleashes its bad luck. Whoa, move over, Hannibal. You've been licked. The kids realize Mad Sponge on the loose, where it attacks, and they fail to stop it like pansies. No joke, the sponge is super effective and has the big kids on the run. With Carlo, I understand, since he's still young, but all three of these brats fail? None of them can so much as kick the sponge into the trash can? How do these kids suck so much?
You suck.
You piece of shit!
Also, why the hell is the Growl trying to murder Cat now? It hasn't even been one day since breaking up, yet it's now attempting to assault them all despite needing Cat alive?
Great continuity!
But I guess the Growl now has all the anime power it requires somehow, where it soon grows a few inches taller.
This is better than the X-Files.
Beware, children. The Growl has evolved from a sponge into a tumbleweed.
You piece of shit!
The kids try escaping the
Evil sponge!
But upon activating the janitor's Walkman, they discover the Growl's weakness. What can defeat a sponge aside from a gorilla? Well, get this. The monster is overpowered by good and happiness. The monster hates love, and just hearing happy thoughts tortures it. This monster is officially more pathetic than Power Rangers foes.
Red Ranger, you stand for everything I hate. Goodness, honesty, decency.
So the kids fight back with the power of love. The trio actually kill the Growl with kindness. This is cringe overload.
I love your big, beautiful eyes. All of them.
I love what you've done with your hair.
And that skin, so damp, yellow, and absorbent.
When I grow up, I want to be a killer sponge just like you.
And this is undoubtedly the cherry atop this diarrhea sundae. This is awful. The kids love the monster to death. The show actually displays this My Little Pony climax as a serious epic moment for the episode, and it's not even so bad it's laughable. It's just nauseating. This is worse than It Chapter 2. Remember that crappy cringe fest climax where the Losers Club bully Pennywise to death? This is honestly worse. Our bad luck monster, this divine ancient demon in the form of a sponge evolving into a godlike abomination, is losing to the power of love. The power of love. Seeing these kid heroes, especially Carlo, telling how much they love the cute little spongy is painful, even by kid show standards.
Who friggin' thought of this?
This final fight is a painful reminder of how childish this show is. Goosebumps is meant to be entryway horror for kids to feel afraid and enchanted by scary gems. Yet this is kindergarten levels of storytelling. And don't say, well, Kat, you love the Haunted Mask, which did the same thing. No, that is different. It's night and day. The Haunted Mask did have the power of love, but it was a brilliant metaphor about a child learning to love oneself. That a person shouldn't doubt themselves because they are unique deep down all along. Carly Beth learns a clever, uplifting moral on respecting herself more and not allowing her fears to hold her back. On here, this is the equivalent of taking on a bear by saying I love you to it. It's stupid. Stupid, stupid. Having the kids defeat a monster, literally attempting to tear them apart with lovey-dovey kindness, is crap. The kind of crap even the Care Bears would laugh at. The Care Bears are laughing at this. This episode is despised because R.L. Stine talks down to his audience and treats them like babies. When Goosebumps was loved in the first place because it pushed boundaries, while garbage like this is the cutesy poo kids want to outgrow from. If you love this episode because of how hilariously dumb this is, then fine. But you look me in my loony cat eyes and tell me that kids won't cringe watching this.
Did I ever tell you what a wonderful sponge you are?
Right, Courtney, keep going.
So handsome.
But then, the Growl soaks up some chemicals to grow again, until the janitor awakens just in time to save the kids by finishing off the monster with a fire extinguisher. Wait, so if the janitor saves them all with an extinguisher, then that makes the entire cringy love scene completely pointless!
Holy what the what? Whoa, oh my... Whoa, wow, why did this... God, my life... Wow, what the...
Love.
Yes, not only is the final battle where the kids profess their love for a sponge torture, but the episode itself shows us that it was 100% meaningless because the adult saves them all by simply spraying it.
You piece of shit!
The Growl sucks. Not only is the sponge not scary, but it's not even a threat towards anyone because it's beaten by getting buried under dirt, held in science class, loved by children, and now sprayed by foam. This ghoul is somehow worse than Gray Shrek. Oh, but it gets worse. Now, if you're a book fan, then you know this ending is semi-different. In the source material, the Growl dies from Cat kissing it. The power of love is so much that it literally murders the Growl forever. On the show, they decide it'd be funnier to emasculate the sponge like Disney's Boba Fett. Spongebob instead gets trapped as Cat's cute little pocket pet, where it's forced to remain happy listening to Goosebumps music.
Enjoy your music.
I honestly can't decide which fate is worse for the Growl. Getting killed by a kiss of death or being turned into a little girl's pet simp. All I know is, this monster should have been played by Nicolas Cage.
Gripping at the door!
So, Cat survives and no longer has to kill Spongies.
Good. Good.
Oh, and the family dog returns alive and well.
Boomer will live.
No lie, I totally forgot the dog was still in this. I guess I was so distracted by how much the Growl sucks that the monster not even killing the dog was a small failure compared to his massive ones. But what's this? The pup brought Cat a present.
A potato?
This is the worst assignment we've ever had.
Worse than the time we were attacked by the flesh-eating virus?
When I grow up, I want to be a killer sponge just like you.
No, this is much more irritating. I've seen enough, Mulder. Let's go.
Yep, this was our big twist of the killer sponge tale. The dog was working with the killer potato warned about earlier, and it kills her. Kathy went through all this hell only to be punk killed by a tater. Greatest hero since Carly Beth. Anywho, that was our fried finale of Goosebumps' Spongebob tale. It came from beneath the sink. And it should have crawled back underneath the sink to die, 'cause that was After all these years, all this time, It Came From Beneath the Sink remains one of Goosebumps' biggest embarrassments since pedophile grandmas. Do I need to ramble more? This episode sucks. The kids are bland, the horror is non-existent, the story's unremarkable, the bad luck magic is just hilarious, the comedy is pathetic or excruciating, our foe is only remembered because of how much it fails, the Growl is actually nerfed compared to its book counterpart, the twist ending is predictable, the climax is so lame that even the first graders who worship this series died of secondhand embarrassment. The acting is so wooden, the effects suck, and, oh yeah, it utterly fails to make sponges scary.
It's a sponge. Sponges aren't scary.
I have no fond memories of this episode, nor any memories of my father after this pain, but now it's all coming back to me as to why. Nobody likes this episode. Heck, my school friends and I actually made fun of this episode. It was so bad that we roasted this wet rag before we even knew what number 5 was. The only people who enjoy this are those who find it laughably bad, but alas, I'm not one of them. If you like how cringy this is, then that's great. Honestly, I envy you, because you can get some amusement from Dark Spongebob, yet I just can't. To me, this is just plain terrible. It's an episode I used to go out of my way to avoid rewatching because I never liked rewatching the bad tales from a good saga. It's just not bad enough to be funny to me, and we all clearly saw that it's just not strong enough to be seriously scary either because it's a dang sponge. This episode could have gone for something like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes if it embraced the silly concept to the point of extreme insanity. But it simply doesn't go far enough and mashes itself by acting like a typical Goosebumps nightmare. However, making our villain a sponge instantly drowns all fear. The Growl is worthless. It sucks so much that it was the only Goosebumps monster who doesn't even cameo in Jack Black's Goosebumps movie, and was last seen as a collectible item in the Goosebumps video game. Yeah, this ancient Lovecraftian abomination last appeared not as a villain, but as an item you toss in your video game inventory. Even Goosebumps fans don't want SpongeBob back in the spotlight ever again. The Killer Potato actually has more popularity than him. This episode is just a cringy bore if you're a casual viewer, but as a Goosebumps fan, it is underwhelming and lame, all thanks to our monster being a stupid object and not as powerful as he is on the page. Don't watch it, it sucks. It's so bad, it drove me insane. So for that, it gets the easiest decayed skull ever. It only gets 1 point from me because thankfully it has Carlo, saving my tail from the abyss. That boy is the true Messiah. Other than Iron Carlo being our guardian angel of this mess, it came from beneath the sink is a slobbery, gross rag, which needs to be tossed away. Ugh, that was hell. But on the upside, screaming at a children's show helped me regain some of my sanity, so I'll be back to good Goosebumps real shortly. Just remember, folks, sponges are never ever gonna be creepy, and even R.L. Stine can't work miracles.
Not so fast, kitty cat. You're about to learn what happens when you absorb my anger.
But you're not supposed to be here. The Burtons trapped you in the safe space.
Nothing is safe from my fluids, and you're about to get a bath delivery.
Ah!
You better run, cat. You all better run, 'cause old Spongy is gonna scrub you down. Your children's cracks won't be safe from me.